Boxing isn't just a sport, it's a way of life. It's built on passion, tradition, and a deep respect for fierce competition. For over a century, fighters have battled for glory in the ring, while promoters and fans held the sport's legacy close. But in the last year, we've seen a massive shift. The way boxing operates, where it takes place, and how it's presented to the world is undergoing a transformation like never before. At the center of this revolution, one man, Turki Alalshikh. Turki Alalshikh may not be a household name for most casual fans, but if you've been paying attention, you've likely noticed Saudi Arabia becoming the epicenter for some of boxing's biggest events. From Tyson Fury's high-stakes, undisputed heavyweight fight with Alexander Usyk to Anthony Joshua's career-boosting win over Francis Ngannou, Saudi Arabia is where the money flows and where the action is happening. But Turki Alalshikh isn't just another boxing promoter looking to put on big fights. He's much more than that. Alalshikh is a key player in Saudi Arabia's ambitious plan to reshape its global image, using sports as a tool to establish itself as a cultural and economic powerhouse. And boxing, that's just one part of the puzzle. Alongside hosting major golf tournaments, investing heavily in football, and dominating Formula One events, Alalshikh has brought Saudi Arabia into the heart of combat sports. His strategy is simple but powerful. Bring the biggest names, the flashiest events, and the largest prize purses to Saudi soil, making the country an unmissable destination for boxing's elite. But here's where things start to get complicated. This isn't just about creating exciting fights. Alalshikh's efforts have sparked heated debates across the boxing world. On one side, there are those who see his influence as a positive force, one that's helping boxing reach new global audiences and giving fans unprecedented access to major events. But on the other side, critics argue that this influx of money and influence is tipping the scales in the wrong direction. They question whether boxing under Alalshikh's watch is at risk of losing its competitive integrity. Some argue that instead of focusing on the sport's traditional meritocracy, fights are now booked based on financial gain and spectacle rather than actual competition. Then there's the matter of sports washing, using sports to gloss over deeper political issues and human rights concerns. Alalshikh's role in this grand strategy has led to accusations that Saudi Arabia is using boxing to clean up its global image, raising ethical concerns within the boxing community and beyond. At the heart of it all is this question: is Alalshikh lifting boxing to new heights, or is he leading it down a path where money and influence outweigh tradition and fair competition? The stakes couldn't be higher, with millions of dollars now pouring into the sport and Saudi Arabia's dominance in boxing growing. What does this mean for the future of the sport we love? As Saudi money flows into boxing like never before, fans are witnessing dream fights, stacked cards, and new alliances between rival promoters. But not everyone is cheering. Some say this newfound influence is distorting the sport, pushing boxing towards spectacle over competition. So today we're exploring both sides of the debate. Is Turki Alalshikh bad for boxing? First, let's look at the rise of Saudi Arabia in the world of boxing and how Turki Alalshikh has been a key player. Known as the head of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, Alalshikh is a man with a vision. Under his leadership, Saudi Arabia has hosted some of the biggest boxing events we've seen in recent years. We're talking about Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, Anthony Joshua's latest fights, and many more. Alalshikh didn't just bring big names to Saudi. He also managed to end the rivalry between two of boxing's biggest promoters, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Before him, these two weren't even on speaking terms, but now they've joined forces, bringing us blockbuster cards, featuring multiple world title fights on the same night. Boxing fans have benefited from this. More fights, more action, and let's be honest, more drama. But is it all good news? Sure, it sounds great, but is the influence of Alalshikh and Saudi Arabia really what's best for boxing? One of the biggest issues being raised is that Alalshikh's involvement is part of a broader effort by Saudi Arabia to improve its global image through sports. Essentially, it's the idea that by hosting major sporting events, Saudi Arabia is trying to distract from its controversial human rights record. Another concern? The huge financial backing from Saudi Arabia could distort the sport. Some worry that fights are being booked based on marketability rather than merit, shifting the focus from true competition to whatever draws the most viewers. We've seen this with other sports like soccer and golf, where massive financial deals change the landscape. Is boxing heading down the same path? Finally, there's the fear that smaller promoters and events could get pushed aside, leaving the sport increasingly dependent on these massive one-off spectacles in Saudi Arabia. So, while it's exciting to see all these big-name fights, the question remains, is this sustainable? Will boxing as we know it be able to keep its integrity in a world dominated by Saudi money and influence? Or are we entering an era where spectacle outweighs competition? Turki Alalshikh has undoubtedly changed the game, bringing boxing fans some of the biggest fights they've ever seen. His bold vision has helped create events that would have been impossible just a few years ago. But at what cost? Only time will tell whether this shift will ultimately be good for the sport or if we're sacrificing its soul for the sake of spectacle. Al-Sheikh's influence on boxing isn't going away anytime soon. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this the future of boxing, or are we heading down a dangerous path?